They told you to be kind to yourself. They told you to take it easy. They told you not to push so hard, not to expect so much, not to demand the impossible from your weary soul. But I'm here to tell you the truth they're too afraid to say. You have coddled the weaker version of yourself for far too long. And that version, it's killing your destiny. The man or woman you are today is not the one you were born to become. No, the person you see in the mirror, full of hesitation, full of excuses, full of silent regret, that is a watered-down version of your potential. It's the self you built when life got hard, the one that adapted to survive rather than rise to conquer. But survival is not your mission. Greatness is. I didn't come to whisper sweet affirmations. I came to light a fire. If you've ever stared at your life and wondered why nothing changes, why the same patterns loop again and again, I'll tell you why. Because you haven't yet declared war on the weak version of yourself. You've negotiated with him, comforted her, made peace with mediocrity. And mediocrity, my friend, is a thief that always smiles while it robs you blind. This isn't a message for the masses. It's a call to the one inside you who still remembers what it felt like to dream wildly, the one who still believes there's time left to become legendary, the one who aches to be free, not from the world, but from yourself. Listen to me now. There is a version of you who wakes up with purpose, moves with discipline, speaks with power, and executes without hesitation. That version already exists, not in the distant future, not in some hypothetical fantasy, but right now, buried beneath the layers of doubt, laziness, distraction, and fear. To reach him, to reach her, you must kill the impostor, the soft one, the one who settles, the one who says maybe tomorrow every time destiny knocks. You know exactly who I'm talking about because they've ruled your life for too long. You are not here to live lukewarm. You are not here to wonder what if on your deathbed. You are here to wage a holy war within, to rise, to suffer, to burn, and to emerge forged by fire. You are here to become the version of yourself that history remembers. And make no mistake, that version cannot coexist with the one you coddle now. Let's begin. I know what you're thinking, but I've tried. I've done the work. I've failed and I've fallen. Isn't that enough? Number, it's not enough. Because you're still here, half alive in your potential, waiting for the world to change before you do. That's not effort. That's avoidance dressed up in noble rags. The weak version of you doesn't want transformation, it wants relief. It doesn't seek challenge, it seeks comfort. It tells you to wait until you feel ready. It seduces you into believing you need one more book, one more plan, one more external validation before you act. That version will keep you looping forever, and it will kill your legacy one silent day at a time. Let me be clear, this isn't about blame. This is about power. You are not powerless. You have trained yourself to be passive, and what has been trained can be retrained, but not while you keep negotiating with your limitations, not while you keep giving airtime to the soft voice that tells you you've done enough. The truth is, you haven't even started. There is a violence in greatness, a sacred brutality in killing off everything that does not serve your higher self. You must become the executioner of your own excuses, the assassin of your distractions, the destroyer of every soft identity you've worn to keep others comfortable while your soul's starved. Do not wait for motivation. It is a liar. What you need is a vow, a cold, unbreakable vow made in the silence of your own soul. The kind of vow that says, from this moment forward, I refuse to be ruled by the part of me that fears effort, that hides from responsibility, that plays small for the approval of others. You must declare this war, not with noise, but with discipline, not with drama, but with decisions. Every time you get up before the sun, every time you push when you want to quit, every time you say no to comfort and yes to growth, you drive another nail into the coffin of your weaker self. This is not self-help, this is self-resurrection. And you cannot resurrect your true self until you bury the imposter. The world doesn't owe you clarity, momentum, or energy. It only reflects back what you project. And if you show up as the diluted version of who you could be, that's all the world will ever hand you. Diluted results, shallow relationships, and just enough success to keep you tame. But show up as the real you, the one forged in decision, carved by effort, armored in clarity, and the world won't know what hit it, because the weak version of you doesn't just hold you back, it holds the entire world back from the gift of your greatness. And I, for one, refuse to let that version win. The only question is, do you? You say you want transformation, but are you prepared to pay the price? I don't mean money. I mean the internal toll. The price of shedding your comfort, your distractions, your identity as someone who is almost committed. You can't evolve and remain the same. Something must die for something greater to be born. And that something is the weaker version of yourself, the one who waits, the one who rationalizes, the one who bows to fear and dresses it up as practicality. That version of you lives in stories. It thrives on maybe tomorrow. It worships the opinions of those who haven't done what you dream of doing. It is the part of you that would rather scroll through illusions than stare down your own potential in the mirror. But listen closely. That version is not the truth. It's a layer, a crust formed by years of avoiding discomfort. Beneath it, the real you is still burning, still breathing, still waiting to be claimed. You have not lost your power, you've buried it. Dig it out. And let me be even more honest. The path of killing off your weak self isn't glamorous. It's not a sunrise montage with music swelling in the background. It's brutal. It's early mornings when your body says no and your purpose whispers yes. It's lonely nights when your old friends don't recognize your discipline and your new life hasn't fully arrived. It's facing your own inner fraud and saying, no more. But that's how warriors are forged. That's how leaders are born. Not in noise, but in silence. Not in applause, but in solitude. The man or woman you were born to be is not waiting for permission. They are waiting for you to finally stop defending the smaller version of yourself and start living like you were built for more. You weren't put on this earth to survive. You were put here to dominate your space, to own your time, to command your mind, to lead your life, and none of that will happen while the weaker version of you still has a seat at the table. So burn the chair, take your rightful place, speak like you already believe it, move like you've already earned it, think like you already possess it, because every minute you hesitate, that old version gets stronger. Every time you delay, it tightens its grip. This is your battlefield, and the enemy wears your face. And so I ask you now, are you done pretending you're not powerful? Are you done acting like someone else has the answers? Are you done flirting with your potential and ready to marry your mission? Because if you are, the real war begins. Not out there, but right here, in the choices no one sees, in the rituals that feel thankless, in the pain that shapes you. That's where you kill the weaker self. And that's where you finally begin to live. You see, power isn't something you wait to receive. It's something you claim, violently, decisively, and without apology. But most men and women tiptoe through life, waiting for an invitation to become who they already are deep inside. They keep their brilliance wrapped in hesitation and call it humility. They silence their instincts and call it being realistic. They wait for signs, for signals, for certainty, all while the clock keeps ticking and the dream keeps fading. But here's what they never told you. Clarity comes after commitment, not before. Confidence is built through action, not contemplation. You will never outthink fear. You must outact it. The weaker version of you is a master negotiator. It bargains with your purpose. It trades destiny for distraction. It tells you that starting tomorrow is noble, that staying comfortable is wise, that fitting in is safer than standing up. That voice must be silenced. And I don't mean ignored, I mean destroyed. Because the part of you that doubts, delays, and diminishes your potential has no business leading your life. You are not obligated to follow thoughts that shrink you. You are not required to believe voices that have never created greatness. You must become the voice. When you speak to yourself, speak with authority. When you decide, decide with finality. When you act, act as though the whole world is watching, not out of vanity, but out of integrity. Because the truth is, the world does respond to the person who walks in alignment. The universe cannot ignore the one who finally becomes congruent with their calling. Every time you choose discipline over delay, every time you choose growth over comfort, every time you choose purpose over pleasure, the weaker self loses power, and the real you steps forward. This is not motivation. This is identity warfare. You are not trying to become someone better. You are returning to who you were before the world told you to be less, before they taught you fear, before they convinced you that you had to ask permission to shine. You've always had the fire. Now you need the courage to burn away everything that insults your potential, because what's at stake isn't just your success. It's your soul's agreement. You were sent here with a task, and every time you hide, you delay not just your destiny, but the impact you were meant to create. So rise, strip away the excuses, face the mirror without flinching, and declare, once and for all, the weak version of me dies today. Say it again, louder. Feel it vibrate through your bones. Because this is not a rehearsal. This is your life. This is your legacy. And the world will not remember the man or woman who played small. It will remember the one who stood tall, stared down the lesser self, and chose greatness anyway. Let me ask you something, and I want you to answer with complete honesty, not the version of you that is polite, not the version that's afraid of sounding arrogant, not the version that's trying to be liked. Number, I want the part of you that remembers what it felt like to dream without limits. Who would you be if you weren't afraid of being too much? Pause and feel that question burn. Who would you be if you stopped censoring your greatness to comfort mediocrity? If you stopped explaining your ambition to people who never had the courage to pursue their own? If you walked like your future self had already arrived? That version of you, the one who dominates with grace, who speaks with power, who lives in alignment, is not a fantasy. It is your default. It is the you beneath the layers of doubt, delay, and domestication. The weak version isn't the impostor. The strong one is not the costume. The truth is the reverse of what you've been told. Your current limitations are not who you are. They are who you've learned to become. They are rehearsed. They are inherited. They are lies you've agreed to repeat. You do not have to keep playing that role. You do not have to keep wearing that mask of weakness, of helplessness, of not ready yet. The mask gets heavy, doesn't it? Pretending not to care, pretending not to want more, pretending that you're fine, just surviving when your soul was built to thrive. Let me tell you what winning really looks like. And it's not about applause. It's not about validation. It's about alignment. Alignment with your purpose. Alignment with your values. Alignment with your future self. The one who wakes up with clarity, walks with certainty, and does not apologize for taking up space in this world. You were meant to lead yourself. You were meant to lead others. But none of that can happen while the weaker self is still calling the shots. None of that becomes possible while you keep asking fear for permission. You must take the throne of your own mind, sit in it, own it, and stop handing the crown to that timid voice whispering nonsense from the corner of your consciousness. You were not built for hesitation. You were built for impact. So let the world feel your decision today, not your explanation, not your excuses, but your decision. You've lingered in the shadows long enough. You've played nice with your lower self long enough. This is the line. This is the moment. Kill that weak version of yourself. Not because you hate it, but because you've outgrown it. And growth always demands a burial. I once believed that discipline was simply a matter of scheduling, a planner, a to-do list, a routine. But I was wrong. Discipline is the armor of the mind. It is the refusal to let your feelings dictate your future. It is the daily execution of intention, regardless of mood, weather, or circumstance. When the weak version of you wants to hit snooze, Discipline rises like a general at dawn. When the lesser version makes excuses, discipline shuts the door and marches forward. Do you understand the power of that? Most people don't. Most people are ruled by how they feel, by what's comfortable, what's convenient. But comfort is the coffin of greatness. There is no room for softness on the battlefield of your destiny. You must become a soldier of your own future. This is not poetic. This is real. There will be days when your body screams in resistance, when your mind tells you it's pointless, when everything in you begs to go back to the old way, to safety, to silence, to surrender. And that is when you must kill the weak version, not with anger, not with shame, with clarity, with action, with the unwavering decision that you will no longer tolerate betrayal from within. When you let the old version die, you allow the future to be born. And that version of you, it's stronger, it's sharper. It walks into rooms differently. It commands attention, not because it shouts, but because it radiates a purpose that cannot be ignored. When you carry yourself like someone who knows exactly what they were born to do, you no longer chase, you attract. You become the gravitational force of your own success. Opportunities start to respond to your presence. People treat you differently because you've treated yourself differently. This is the secret. Kill the version of you that apologizes for existing. Kill the version that seeks approval before action. Kill the version that hesitates. You don't need anyone's permission to rise. You only need your own. And when you give it fully, without hesitation, without retreat, the world will begin to move. You want results, you want wealth, you want freedom, then become the kind of person who commands it, not with noise, but with inner power, the kind that gets up early when no one is watching, the kind that keeps promises made in silence, the kind that shows up day after day with fire in their belly and peace in their eyes. Be that, not tomorrow. Now, there's a point in every person's life when they are confronted with a choice so powerful it shapes the rest of their existence. That moment comes not when you're applauded, not when the world sees your potential, but when you're alone, face to face with the version of yourself you know you must leave behind. That self, the weak one, begs you to stay familiar. It thrives in mediocrity. It wraps itself in excuses, in stories, in reasons. But you are not here to repeat the same year over and over again and call it a life. You are here to evolve. Evolution doesn't feel like motivation. It feels like sacrifice. It feels like saying no to the old cravings, the old patterns, the old identity. It's painful, but pain is the signal of birth. When the weak version of you starts to die, it will scream. It will rage. It will pull every trick to survive. And that's when you double down. That's when you look in the mirror and say, no more. Not another day spent wondering. Not another moment wasted pretending you're less than you are. Kill that weak version, not with violence, but with purpose. Purpose sharpens everything. It silences the noise. It gives every breath meaning. When you walk with purpose, the path unfolds, not because it's easy, but because you've become the kind of person who no longer needs easy. You are the fire now. The weak version of you feared rejection. You face it head on. The old you played small. You play to win. The former version questioned its worth. You claim it with every step forward. Understand this. Nobody is coming to save you. No mentor, no book, no strategy can do what you must do yourself. You must rise. You must choose the higher road when the lower one feels easier. You must commit every single day to being the one who refuses to be average. That decision alone rewires your entire life. The second you decide to stop entertaining weakness, to stop negotiating with mediocrity, the universe starts to shift. Doors you didn't see before begin to open. People who dismissed you begin to notice. And most importantly, you begin to trust yourself. That is the currency of greatness. self-trust. When you trust yourself deeply, when your word becomes law in your own world, you become unstoppable. No storm can shake you. No opinion can define you. You stop being reactive and start being relentless. And it all begins with the decision to kill the weak version of yourself. Do it, and don't look back. The weak version of yourself is cunning. It doesn't announce its presence with obvious failure. It shows up in whispers, in hesitation, in the tiny decisions you justify because they're easier, more comfortable, or safer. That version says, "You've done enough for today," when your soul knows you've barely begun. It convinces you to scroll, to rest, to wait, and every time you listen, it tightens its grip on your future. That's how people stay stuck, by making tiny, reasonable choices that lead nowhere. But I tell you now, if you want to break free, you must become unreasonable, unshakable. You must develop a new standard that doesn't bend to mood or convenience. You must train your mind like a warrior sharpens his blade, every day, no exception. Discipline is no longer a punishment. It's your pathway to power. You don't need motivation, you need a mission. And the moment you tie your life to something bigger than comfort, you become dangerous in the best way. Look around. The world rewards the bold, the driven, the ones who dare to act when others hesitate. This isn't about aggression, it's about alignment. When you know who you are, when you burn the script that says maybe later, you move like a person possessed by purpose, that energy cannot be faked. It radiates. It changes rooms, opens opportunities, and magnetizes results. But that power only comes when you kill the version of yourself that's still waiting to be told what to do. Why are you still waiting? Waiting for permission, for clarity, for perfect timing? That weak version believes in waiting. But the powerful version, the real you, creates timing, creates clarity, creates momentum out of thin air. That version of you walks into chaos and turns it into order. It doesn't shrink under pressure, it sharpens. And that's who you're becoming. Not someday, not when it's easy, right now. Because the truth is this, your destiny doesn't respond to hesitation. It responds to action. Ruthless, repeated, courageous action. You want freedom? Discipline is the cost. You want respect? Earn it from yourself first. You want results? Show up when you least feel like it. Every action is a vote. Every choice is a brick. Build the version of yourself that doesn't need reminders, doesn't make excuses, and doesn't wait for the stars to align. Be the reason the stars move. You see, the moment you decide to kill that weak version of yourself, the battle is not over. It's only just begun. Because that version doesn't vanish in a single strike. It hides, it adapts, it waits for you to drop your guard. It resurfaces when you're tired, when you're distracted, when you're not watching. That's why you must become vigilant, ruthless in your awareness. Every day you must look that old version in the eye and say, not today, not ever again. This is the work. This is what separates the few from the many. Most people want success, but they don't want the sacrifice. They want confidence, but they're not willing to face the parts of themselves that create doubt. They want wealth, but they aren't ready to rewrite their relationship with fear, with rejection, with failure. But you are different. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be legendary. And that means burning bridges to the past version of you that settled, that stalled, that survived instead of soared. You want to transform? Then burn the safety net. Stop negotiating with your own mediocrity. Because every time you tolerate weakness, you endorse it. And I didn't come here to help you cope. I came to help you conquer. To teach you how to build a mind so strong, so sharp, so certain that nothing can pull you back into the shadows. And that starts with brutal honesty. Are you really giving your best? Are you really showing up as the version of yourself you admire? Or are you performing, doing just enough to say you tried? I challenge you now. Raise your standards, not tomorrow. Now create rituals that reinforce your worth. Speak like someone who knows the power of words. Walk like someone who carries a legacy on their shoulders. Decide that the old version of you is gone, and mean it. Make it your mission to never slip into softness again. Because every time you choose strength over ease, you reclaim a piece of your soul. Do you understand what's at stake? Your mind is the gatekeeper of your future. Your habits are the architects of your destiny. And your decisions, every single one, are the chisels shaping the sculpture of your life. The weak version of you was sculpted by doubt, fear, and delay. The new you, it's forged in fire, in intention, in action that terrifies and transforms you. That's how greatness is built, not in comfort, but in confrontation. I want you to imagine something now. Close your eyes and picture the version of you who never backed down, who never let excuses whisper lies into their ear. That version of you stands taller, speaks clearer, thinks deeper. That version of you doesn't flinch when failure knocks. They open the door and say, "I've been waiting." That's who you are becoming, not someday, but now. And the faster you kill the version of you that hesitates, the faster you become unstoppable. There's a reason this message reaches you today, because the war inside you can't be delayed any longer. Every hour you spend living beneath your potential is a betrayal. Harsh? Maybe. But the truth doesn't care about your feelings. It only cares about your freedom. You weren't born to blend in. You were born to carve out a place in history. And history does not remember those who played it safe. It remembers those who defied their inner weakness, broke their own limits, and rose from their former selves like phoenix from flame. You don't need more motivation. You need a mirror that shows you everything you've tolerated that has kept you small. You need to stare down that reflection and declare, "I am done. Done with hesitation. Done with the inner critic. Done with the half-hearted attempts and the stories that let you off the hook." Because once you declare war on your excuses, your weakness has no place to hide. So from this moment forward, I don't want you to wait for confidence. I want you to behave like someone who already has it. I want you to walk into rooms as if your greatness is a given. I want you to speak to yourself like you're becoming the legend your future depends on. You don't need permission to act like a champion. You just need to make that identity non-negotiable. The old you was comfortable, the new you is dangerous, and that's exactly what's required to rise. Not violence, but velocity. Not arrogance, but alignment. Not noise, but knowing. Kill that weak version of you, not with shame, but with supremacy of choice. The choice to embody the identity of someone who refuses to lose. Because once that decision is made, truly made, the rest is just execution. You are not bound by your past failures, nor are you defined by your past limitations, but you are shackled, completely and absolutely, by the belief that they still hold power over you. The weak version of yourself wants you to carry that burden. It tells you that the patterns you've repeated are your identity. That is a lie. You were never your limitations. You were simply acting in accordance with them. And just as easily, just as decisively, you can act your way into a new existence, a new rhythm, a new vibration. I tell you now, the most powerful act of courage is the decision to stop identifying with who you used to be. Let me speak plainly. You cannot outgrow the weak version of yourself through comfort. You cannot negotiate with it. You must destroy it, burn the script, abandon the excuses, walk straight into the storm. Because on the other side of the storm is clarity. And in that clarity, you'll meet the version of yourself you were always meant to become. I speak of the self that never bows to fear, the self that sees adversity and charges forward, the self that no longer whispers, maybe, but declares now. And do you know what happens when you kill that weak version of yourself? You rise, you don't float, you ascend. You begin to speak differently, move differently, command space differently. You stop needing validation because you are self-certified. You no longer chase opportunities, they chase you. Because success, real success, is not attracted to the needy. It is drawn to the decisive. And when you kill the weak, indecisive version of yourself, you make room for the force within you that was born to lead. So I'll ask you plainly, are you ready to bury that old version of you? Are you ready to let him, let her finally rest in peace? Good, because we're not here to survive. We're here to conquer. And the battlefield is not out there. It's within. I want you to picture this clearly, not metaphorically, but vividly, with every fiber of your being. Imagine standing in front of a mirror, but instead of one reflection, there are two. One is tired, worn, dragging the weight of the past, speaking in excuses, doubting every move, every thought. That is the weaker version of you, the version that was shaped by fear, programmed by failure, and hypnotized by the noise of others. Now shift your gaze to the second reflection. Shoulders squared, eyes sharp with purpose, a calm, unshakable presence. That version is silent when others panic, focused when others drift. That version doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't ask, can I? It declares, watch me. That version is who you were meant to become, and more importantly, it's who you still can be. But here's the truth most never face. Only one of those versions survives. You cannot serve both. Every decision you make feeds one and starves the other. Every morning you wake up and hesitate, delay, complain. You are breathing life into the version that wants you weak, small, silent. But when you rise with conviction, when you act even though you feel fear, when you show up like your life depends on it, you starve the impostor and you feed the conqueror. This isn't just mindset. This is warfare. And the battlefield is quiet. No one hears it but you. That voice in your head that tells you to hit snooze, kill it. The voice that says you're not good enough, kill it. The voice that says you've failed too much to succeed now, slaughter it. You cannot build greatness on the foundation of weakness. You must demolish the old structure, then lay new brick, thought by thought, action by action, with the fire of intention as your mortar. I am not here to make you feel better. I am here to make you unstoppable. So I'll ask you again, which version of yourself are you feeding right now? You can't cheat this process. You can't fake your way into power. You must burn for it. Burn the bridges back to mediocrity. Burn the excuses you've kept warm. Burn the false identities you've worn like a costume to keep others comfortable. You were never meant to blend in. You were designed to rise. But to rise, you must shed. Shed the need for validation. Shed the fear of being misunderstood. Shed the layers of softness that have protected your ego but buried your potential. Real strength, the kind that commands a room without uttering a word, is forged in discomfort, in repetition, in discipline. There are no shortcuts. You don't become relentless by thinking about it. You become by acting through the pain, through the resistance, through the silence when no one applauds. I have seen men wait decades for clarity. They read, they listen, they plan, but they never decide. And do you know why? Because the weak version whispers, maybe later. It's seductive. It sounds wise. It says, wait until the time is right. But listen to me now. There is no perfect moment. There is only now. And the strongest among us are not the most talented, not the best resourced. They are simply the most decisive. They decide who they are. They decide what their future looks like. And they act in alignment with that vision before anyone else believes it. That is how you kill the weak version. You starve it of indecision. You drown it in action. You smother it with belief that does not flinch. You outwork its voice until it disappears completely. I'll leave you with this for now. If the world never praises you, if no one ever claps for you, if you build your empire brick by silent brick with your own blood and vision, would you still do it? If the answer is yes, then you're not becoming powerful. You already are. And the world is about to find out. And if the world is about to find out, then let it. Let it see what happens when a man or woman refuses to live another day bowed under the weight of a version of themselves they never chose. Let it witness what's possible when someone stops playing small to make others comfortable and instead plays big, loud, and relentless to fulfill the purpose etched in their very soul. You are not here to conform. You are not here to be tolerated. You are not here to water yourself down, apologize for your potential, or tiptoe around your brilliance. You are here to rise, to rule, to remake the life you were handed into the life you were born to build. There is no shame in your strength. There is no guilt in your greatness. There is no burden in owning your ambition. The only weight is in denying it. So stand tall, walk forward, burn the bridge back to who you were, kill the weak version of yourself, not in violence, but in liberation. Let it fall like an old skin. Mourn it briefly if you must. And then step into the fire as the version of you who cannot be ignored. Because that is who you were always meant to be. Now go, the world is waiting, but more importantly, you're ready. The world makes way for those who dare to rise. Click the Rise button now to subscribe and claim the destiny waiting for you. Your time is now.